been provoking him. After a week or so, George and I began feeling better, and the local in the village asked us to go with him on a trek to the top of the mountain. We met at 6 in the morning and climbed stairs for about an hour and a half. Our friend from Germany was determined to keep moving as we climbed the mountain. It left the young Kasi boy shouting, "Germany! Germany is strong!" He exclaimed, "If this were Germany, all the stairs would be the same size." All the villages here are found by following long, steep sections of cement stairs that are funded by the government and built by the villagers. They are constructed simply and quickly. Each stair is unique in height and breadth and width and angle. The way the cement is used is sufficient for the time being, but it is likely too thin a layer over the rough fill to last into the years. The village life is adaptable, though, and if one section of stairs becomes unusable, it is either fixed or abandoned for a new path. At the top, we ate at a small stall serving beef, that was actually pork, and rice. We saw the pig laying outside, being severed into bits and distributed to the locals. From there we rode on top of a sumo, a large four-wheel drive vehicle with 3 rows of seats, to a trail leading downhill towards a beautiful waterfall called Wisodong. The area is a popular picnic destination, and everywhere you can see the signs of its popularity in the form of bottles, cans, plates, leftover food, and wrappers. As our friend explained, these areas went from village life with no such thing as rubbish to a tourist destination, with visitors fueled by Pepsi and other plastic-wrapped products. There is not an infrastructure for trash removal, and with Western culture so quickly being integrated into village life, there has been no time for the planning necessary to prevent pollution of this kind. It seems even more compounding to me that India has been one of the go-to countries for waste exports following the bans placed in China. If you are saddened by the beauty of these jungles and waterways being littered with wrappers and bottles, look no further than the junk food and water bottling giants that rely on the immense amount of people with India for their income. As my friend from Kerala says, "Don't come here and feel better than us. We are fighting dinosaurs." At the falls we met an older man from the village on the other side of the same mountain as Nongarat. He took us to some nearby cliffs and we drank a local rice wine from plastic bags. He went back to his village and we rode in the back of a truck to Sora markets where we bought some beef and several pineapples. We took a taxi to Tarna with 8 people and walked home in the dark. The same friend from Nongriat that took us to the waterfall invited us to stay in his father's village, the village where the man with the rice wine had come from. "You buy the rum, you stay for free," he told us. We were not so set on drinking, but the idea of seeing another more isolated village was inviting. Our friend, his brother, and the 2 men from Kerala, and our German friend all went together. We got a taxi in Turna and headed to Sora market to buy food. In the village where we were going, there would be no cafe. In Sora, there was a Kasi dance festival going on, and we watched several locals perform. Our friend from Kerala explained that there were traditional garments used for such ceremonies originally, but these outfits are now the products of large industrial markets. A close look at the headdresses and jewelry can reveal that this is the truth. We took a taxi to the top of the mountain where we had walked a few days before, and began a long descent to the village where we would be staying for the next few nights. We arrived in the dark and began cooking dinner. One villager opened up a nearby beehive in a hollow log and slowly stuck in his hand. As he did so, the bees moved calmly away from his fingers. He pulled out several pieces of the hive. Some were full of larvae and others full of honey. We ate both. The larvae were creamy and delicious. A friend from Nongriat said, "You sleep in father's house." This was a small shack made of tin and wood, full of trash and signs of rats. We decided that we could not sleep inside because it would not be good for our health. Instead, I laid our tarp on the ground and we slept beneath the stars. In the middle of the night, it began to rain. I crawled under the tarp on the ground and was going to go back to sleep when the man who had brought us the rice wine came to collect us all and move us to his home, and we slept on his living room floor. The next morning we woke up and arranged a better tarp system for ourselves to sleep in. 4 of us fit snugly under the small setup. We went with our new village friends to the river at the base of the mountain. Once there, we walked across the bridge and the boys pulled up a fishing line with a small carp on it. Everyone was happy to have gotten a fish so quickly. Around the river there were large groups of butterflies with iridescent wings. While I wandered around looking at the butterflies, I came across one of the village women and her daughter turning over stones and digging through the dirt in search of bait. I immediately joined them, and we were able to find some worms, a small crab, and a few other bugs. We put them into a net and carried them back to where the woman threaded the worms onto a thin, double-tailed stem of a palm branch. She twisted the ends into loops and used it as a lure that she stuck beneath rocks, holding the net close by. She did not have much luck with this method, and I soon lost interest and went wandering around the bank. I became hungry after some time, and we decided to return to the village. Before we left, we were warned, no touch forest. There are many areas within these jungles where only your feet can touch the path. No leaf, nor tree, nor rock outside the path is touchable by us and potentially others in the area. I am not sure if the rule is strictly for visitors or if it extends to the inhabitants of the village as well. The next morning I cleaned the hut out in order to have a place to stay in case there was some sudden downpour in the night. I did laundry, and after these chores were completed, I went walking with the children of the village. One child that was especially friendly was a little girl named Lisa Mara. She was wearing a yellow and black striped shirt. She had a recently shaved head and a smile with a few missing teeth. I really enjoyed spending time with the children. No such experience did I enjoy more in my time in India. I followed a group of them into the jungle, the eldest in the group, a girl of perhaps 7, carrying an infant sibling on her back. They brought me to a small bush where they ate small red chilies like they were candies. I ate one and was surprised at their ability to eat so many so quickly. They gave me a few to take back to George and the others, who were spending most of their time at the camp resting. We walked around some more in the forest and found some oblong red fruits hanging from a withered vine in a tree. I jumped up and pulled on them. They dropped to the ground, and all the children scrambled to grab them. There were 5 fruits. The eldest girl had them give the extra one to me. Each one of us, besides the baby, had our own fruit. It was full of sweet passion fruit-like pulp around the strong triangular seeds. The rinds we threw away. I was lucky to have the children with me. They knew the forest well. There were many trees farmed by the local villagers. The children led me to a patch of mandarin trees. We shook them, and several fruits fell, and we eagerly ate them. We went back to share our citrus bounty with the others at camp, and the children enjoyed playing with my whistles. They especially enjoyed using our makeshift tents as a wrestling ring, and I was worried that they would tear our sleeping bag to shreds. One morning an old man came walking past our camp with 2 sticks to aid him down each step. After him came a few children as well. I decided that I would go with them and see what they were doing. Soon we were all standing in a small area full of the leaves of the local cinnamon trees. They began pulling branches from a stick frame uphill where they had been drying. We stripped the dry leaves from the branches and added them to the pile. We carried on with this activity for some time. I followed a young man into the forest. He was cutting thin, straight saplings and taking off their branches. I helped him remove the branches and carry the saplings back to the pile of leaves. The elderly man and the boy began building a frame. I felt at this point that I was no longer much help, as I could not communicate with them. In the evening they carried a large bag of leaves past. They had used the saplings to build a frame to pack the bags. I tried later to lift one of these bags and could not do so because of the great weight within. One morning there was much commotion at the building above our camp. It turned out to be the first day of school. It began with a crowd of children gathering, most of which were very curious, peeping down at me and my friends as they assembled for the teachers. The children were quiet and happy. With a few instructions, they arranged themselves by height in rows, and soon they were inside with the teacher. They were only inside for a short amount of time, and they all left and were inside their homes for the rest of the day. I assumed they were doing most of their work at home. Without the children to follow around during the day, George and I wandered in the forest alone. We were walking around when we heard a child in the distance practicing counting in English. We believed that we had come across the village of Nongstong, but we were unsure of the name. In the evening I joined the children in a game of Catch the Rooster, where we all tried to catch a rooster as it ran up the village. Once caught, the rooster was placed in a bamboo basket. At the top there was a very animated man binding some solder, the tops of large grass plants, into bundles for brooms. I joined him, but after a while he looked concerned and pointed at my shirt. Soon an elderly woman came over to me and she began picking at my shirt as well. It took some time until I realized that the grass was leaving some small fibers on me and they were concerned that these would cause me to itch. They took me inside and had me wash my arms. They sat me down inside and gave me a big plate of boiled tapioca root. This is when I realized that they had a small storeroom, which they sold biscuits and other snacks from. I asked for some to share with George and the others and told them I would pay later. They happily gave me some things in a small sack to carry back to camp. One of our friends from Kerala showed up and brought a young girl to me. He showed me her arm and face, which were recovering from very serious burns. The little girl looked as if she did not appreciate the attention, especially since it concerned her injuries. My friend explained that her father died a year ago and that the young girl had fallen in the fire. The mother had just recently given birth to another child, totaling 3 in all. The mother was breastfeeding the youngest. The second would come over and hit her, obviously jealous of her attention and potentially wanting some milk herself.